son is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We head to wine country, Sonoma, California, for the Toyota Save Mart 350. This week, NASCAR turns right and left as we go road racing for 110 laps. Stages this week will be at 25, at 50, and then all the way to the checkered. Fun fact here, since the retirement of Jeff Gordon and Carl Edwards, Rowdy is the king of Sonoma with the most wins at 2 and the most top 5s with 7. Weather is supposed to be sunny and temps in the upper 70s when we go racing 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Also, just a heads up, guys, you're going to want to pay attention to qualifying later today, as it will be at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Qualifying is extremely important, but we've got the practice data, and we're going to try to do our best. As you can see, we're without AW and Liehr this week, but we got a special treat for you. OG of Daily Fantasy NASCAR himself, Pearce, Dietrich, Race for the Prize on Twitter. Pearce, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks for filling in, man. The boys were actually excited to watch the show with you filling in. We're going to do this a little bit different since Pearce is new to the show. I'm going to go ahead and start off the Burning Rubber segment, and we'll go to a clip of Liehr doing the Burning Rubber.
Burning Rubber, baby!
Guys, my first Burning Rubber pick is Martin Truex Jr. I realize he's the most expensive driver at $10,300. But Truex Jr. is maybe the best elite road course racer out there. At least this is what the NASCAR community is talking about and what the garage talk this weekend is. And if you remember correctly from previous shows, you'll know that when we hear people in the garage talking up a certain car and saying that that's the car to beat, you can almost consider it a truth, like a stone cold truth, that you want to play that player because those guys are professionals and almost every team in the garage thinks that the 78 is the car to beat. I have no reason to doubt these guys. I think this car will sit on the pole or in Truex fashion, take second and be on the front row when we start it off. He also has a win here and a top 5 last year, and he was the fastest car in practice 1. Pearce, you got any thoughts on Truex, man?
Yeah, I agree. He's probably your best road course racer. He had the best average running position at this race last year. He didn't win, and he really wasn't out front, but he was right there the whole time. He won with MWR at Sonoma. I agree with you. I don't know who we're going to crown as the next road racing king, but he's right there with him.
Do you have a play that you want to specify out as a Burning Rubber pick this week, man?
I'm going to go Kyle Larson. I know he doesn't have the track history here, but if you look at his track history, you look closer, he actually ran better than he's finished at this race, and that's kind of was his trend for most of his years so far until this season where he started to seal the deal. And it seems like he can win everywhere. He's won at multiple races this year. He wins dirt tracks every single day. He's fast in practice. If Truex isn't on the pole, then I think Kyle Larson's going to be right there next to it. I wouldn't worry about, hey, he hasn't done this road course that much. But, look, Kyle Larson just can do anything at this point, so I don't see why you stay away from him.
Right. Chip got nasty racing, man. And it's him and McMurray are both having actually an amazing season, and we're both incredibly fast. I don't have a problem if you want to make either one of those guys as a play this week. Just pay attention to where McMurray qualifies. If he overqualifies, I'm not sure you're going to want a piece of him at the end of the race. My second guy to burn some rubber this week is Denny Hamlin at 8,900. He was second in practice 1, and once again, he's the talk of the garage as the other car to beat pre-qualifying other than Larson, who is just on a tear. Hamlin finished second here last year, and it's an interesting pivot from Rowdy if you're on the JGR train. A lot of people are going to see Rowdy's track history here, and they're going to see that Rowdy is a great car here, and a lot of people are going to overlook Hamlin, and I think he's underpriced at $8,900. Here's your thoughts, bud?
Well, he should have. We'll get the conspiracy hat on here. He should have won both road races last year. There's just not an acceptable reason for why he overturned, that last turn there, the kind of like the Martinsville turn, which is funny. The last turn that he messes up looks exactly like Martinsville, which is the racetrack that Hamlin's probably the best at on the circuit. And then when he messes up, he's just like, I just made a mistake. Congratulations to Tony. There's something fishy going on. He looked really good at the road courses. He won Watkins Glen. But before that, in his career, he had stunk. But we've seen where these guys just, all of a sudden the light bulb goes on and they're really good at road courses. We've seen that with Dale Earnhardt Jr. His whole career couldn't do it. And then all of a sudden, now he's one of the best at Sonoma. So I like Hamlin a lot.
We'll talk about a couple of his other teammates here coming up. But do you have another burner rubber pick you want to get to?
Well, I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr.'s old teammate at NWR who won here with NWR. We actually didn't struggle last year. Clinton Boyer. He had a fast car all weekend and was actually really excited in that H. Scott Motorsports car, which was actually really surprising. But what wasn't surprising was the car had an electrical fire. He almost caught on fire and died of asphyxiation. Wow. That's how last season went for Clinton Boyer. Mm-hmm. But he's fast again. Let's get the conspiracy hat on again. He's in the Lightning McQueen Cars 3 car. And if you're a NASCAR fan, how many times have we seen this? Dale Jr. won in the Batman Dark Knight Rises car. Carl Edwards always, if it was a Subway-sponsored race, you might as well go ahead and give the race to Carl Edwards. You see this stuff happen all the time.
Jimmy Johnson and Superman.
Really good. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, I mean, it's a Toyota race, so maybe we should expect Denny Hamlin to win. But I'm going to go with Clint Boyer.
Fair enough. And as you can see, guys, I love that Clint Boyer play. I love the paint scheme. He traditionally is somebody that is overlooked in the daily fantasy community, and I think that he's a guy that can actually do a lot of damage here this week and point up your lineups. As you can see, guys, there's some money that wants to be spent, so it's time to go to the value segment. Guys, I'm going to preface my first value play. This is an egregious underpricing from DraftKings, and it's Matt Kenseth at $7,500. I want to be crystal clear. Matt Kenseth is hot, wet garbage at this track. And I mean, he is awful. It isn't even close. He's bad. But he starts from the back of the field. So as long as his team doesn't decide to try to qualify and then get thrown back, I think he's a play that you're going to want to look at. As I saw you tweeting out earlier in the week, yesterday, as long as he gets it into the low 20s, he more than pays off his $7,500 price tag. And what's criminal, in my opinion, is he's cheaper than Billy Johnson. You might say, who's that? That's the guy stepping in for Richard Petty Motorsports. And I'm sorry, I'm never going to put a JGR car behind the backup driver for Richard Petty Motorsports. That's just me, though. Your thoughts, even though he looks garbage in practice, too?
Look, I mean, we tweet about him not making top 10s, but we don't care about top 10s this week. He just got to get a top 20. He just has to look human or average and starting 40th. We've seen this before. Austin Dillon a couple times starting in the back. Even Ricky Stenhouse at Sonoma in the past, he just plugged those guys in. If I look at the back, let's see. Greg Biffle starting 32nd. He ended up in an optimal lineup. Who else? Yeah, and then we go back to the 2015 Sonoma race. We got 32nd for Paul Menard. Anybody starting 30th back, it doesn't matter. If there's, I mean, it's a top-notch driver. I know he stinks at Sonoma, but he's not that bad.
Right, and it looks like when you look over his track data, most of the problems that I saw with him is he overqualifies and then falls back into those 20s range. But that 20s range is exactly what we need out of him this week, starting from the back. So I like the play, especially since he's cheap. Do you have anybody that you're looking for in the value range specifically?
I'm going to go super punt here. Well, the thing is, it's hard for us to talk about value range because we don't know about qualifying. We know Kenseth is going to be in the back. We still have to see what's going to happen with Chase Elliott. We got to see what's going to happen with Eric Jones, although I don't think those guys, they couldn't run the lap in practice. Now they're going to have a brand new car with 0 laps on it. They're just going to go out there and qualify in the top 30. I don't think that's going to happen. But we have to wait and see on those guys. And then, I'm going to go super punt with Alan Day. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Alan Day. He never has raced at Sonoma before, and they're talking about it in practice. He can't go into a simulator because he's for a small team. But what he did all week was just practice on iRacing. And just with doing iRacing, this guy was 23rd fastest in practice, too. He's at 4,700. If he can finish around 25th, I mean, that's pretty good for punt. We got to wait and see, but I'm pretty impressed with the guy just out of nowhere going out there and putting up a 23rd.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I was super impressed by that as well. It's one of those, I just hope to God he doesn't overqualify and make it so we can't do the super punt with him. The
Michael McDowell syndrome.
Exactly, Michael McDowell syndrome. All right, another guy I'm looking at pre-qualifying is Chris Buescher at 6,200. This is Dinger's teammate, and he was getting around the track as fast, if not faster, than Dinger. And, guys, guess what? He carries with him a $3,300 discount over Allmendinger. Allmendinger is bumped up to $9,500 this week. This is a no-brainer for me as long as he doesn't overqualify. Those cars were looking good. They looked like they had him dialed in. Buescher looked like he was flying around the track. He was one of those cars that wasn't having to go extremely in the air around the bumps and stuff. Like, they've got those cars dialed in, and which makes Allmendinger a play as long as you're willing to pay up for that kind of racing as well. But this is the value segment, and I just see Chris Buescher being $3,300 cheaper as a play that you're going to want to look at as long as he doesn't overqualify.
Yeah, the Allmendinger point is that could probably go overlooked. People are going to look at Buescher and say, oh, well, he didn't do that well last year. But last year he was on Front Row Motorsports. This year he's with JT Daughtry, whatever. And he's got AJ Allmendinger as a teammate, so he can learn from him. They can share notes. He's going to have a similar setup. And you can see clearly so far already. I mean, like, a lot of people are not going to wake up to this. They're not going to see these practice times and figure out what it is. But it seems clear right here that he is learning from AJ and he knows what he's doing. And we've seen this in the past. If you remember when Mark Ambrose was on Richard Petty Motorsports, Sam Hornish Jr. also had some really good races at the road courses. I think if you got one really good road courser on your team, it's going to help the other guy out. Buescher is, I think it is going to be sneaky. People aren't going to really think about the teammate angle.
Yeah, and they did an interview with Buescher, and he's like, basically like, he taught me exactly how to run around this track, did everything. I mean, dude, word for word, exactly what you said came out of Buescher's mouth, and that's why I just love this play. All right, do you have another value play for everybody?
Well, let me ask you this, though, with Buescher. What if he qualifies 15th?
Oh,
God,
still
in play, or are you going to start to get scared?
I start to get scared, like, which is my worry. I know.
This looks like he's going to run a good speed and qualify.
Oh, I know, which makes his ownership go down even more, and means that, you know, if he can possibly hold it, which of all places to do it, it would be a road race, you know?
Yeah, because you're not going to give up track position. I mean, I'm watching last year's race. I got it on 2x speed on YouTube, which is actually kind of crazy. If you want to watch the Sonoma race, double speed. I mean, it's just like a line of cars going like this, single file. No one's passing anyone. The only time you get past at Sonoma is if you just make a really big mistake. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't look like he's going to make a mistake here.
No, I don't think he'll make a mistake unless it's somebody else making a mistake into him.
Value-wise,
yeah,
for me, tough. Where would I look? I'm looking down here in the 6,000 range.
Mm-hmm.
Danica hasn't been awful. It depends on where she qualifies. I want to see her qualify. I don't know. I think she's going to qualify in the top 15 and slide back to 20th. That's not going to get it done. Nope. So if she were to do the opposite, which she won't do, that would be nice. Maybe Stenhouse. I could see Stenhouse flopping qualifying and then still having pretty good speed in the race. It seems like they've turned things around a lot. This will be a real challenge, though. Stenhouse and Bain, every week they prove us wrong. Say, hey, track history doesn't matter. It's a whole new team. Well, let's see it this week. Let's see what you guys can do here. And if they can prove it this week, then you may have to watch out for these guys in the championship.
Yeah, I mean, cutting that team down to 2 cars has been the best thing for Roush Fenway Racing. Wow. I can't believe that team is competing week in and week out every week with both cars. It is just awesome to see, and I think it's great for the sport. Unfortunately, it hasn't been good for all the Toyota drivers other than Martin Truex Jr., but, you know, seeing other people get up and winning. But
going off your Roush point, it's obvious that cutting down to 2 teams, taking all your resources and mainly focusing them on just 2 cars, it's worked. I mean, other than their Xfinity series, which I don't know what's going on with sponsorship down there, but that aside, it's working in the Cup Series. You think other teams are going to follow suit? I mean, RCR, I know they do have 2 wins this year, but they aren't even really real wins.
Right.
Clearly struggling. Why not downsize there? It said they've expanded, and I think the expansion's hurt. Because, I mean, basically, Ty Dillon is in an RCR car. You got Newman, you got Dillon, you got Menard. And the tough thing is, how do they – for me, if I ran RCR, I would downsize, and I think they would help that team out a lot. But who do you cut? Because you can't cut Dillon. You're not going to cut Menard.
Right, because he carries the sponsorship.
Cut Newman, and Newman's your best driver.
Right.
So that's what they need to do, but I don't know how they go about doing that. I think that Austin Dillon, probably his career would turn around if they did that.
Right. Well, and not to see, like, Ty Dillon in a subpar car, like, getting the text, but has actually been having an awesome season. And I kind of want to see what he could do if they focused on just Ty, you know? But, oh, well. Speaking of teams that are underperforming, it's time to go to the garage. And last couple weeks, we've sent DraftKings to the garage first for their improper pricing, their improper contest structures. I know that might offend Pearce a little bit as he does videos for DraftKings, but buddy, can you
underneath this stuff?
Can you please do something to get them to structure tournaments a little better?
I have no control over any of that. I am just completely freelance on the riding. And trust me, I have to get a video to DraftKings for the salaries. And the salaries don't get released till like Thursday, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And that creates, I've got like a super tiny window to get these things done. So, if I had any control, these salaries would be out on Monday. I have no say, no input. I have as much power as you do.
All right. Well, I'm gonna bypass sending DraftKings to the garage as we've done the last couple weeks. You guys know my arguments there. I'm gonna grab them and go for the big one here, and I am sending Dale Jr. to the garage at 8,100. I understand, guys. He really likes his car, and the last 3 years here, he's been on a streak of good finishes with a 3rd, a 7th, and 11th in the last 3 Sonoma races. But guys, this guy blew up 2 engines at Pocono, being uncomfortable in his car, shifting from 3rd to 4th. He literally has to shift around 16 times a lap at this track. He's been uncomfortable in this car all year just because he likes Sonoma and has been all right here. We use these same arguments at the restrictor plates. We've used them at his tracks that he's been better at. And so far, we've been wrong all but once. I'm going to bank on the side of Junior is not happy to be in a race car still. And plus I think he's going to overqualify. And that is going to also be a problem this week. But, I think there are a lot of people that are going to be on Junior, and he could do things to destroy your lineup if you fade him. But I think I'm going to fade him for the most part. Pearce, am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. And this reminds me of how crazy I am and what I told myself before the Pocono race. I just said, you know what? He's going to figure it out. The shifting thing, it's not going to be an issue. He loves his car. And it looked fine for the first, 20 laps. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't fine. And then I look and stuff, why did I do that? Why did I take that risk? It wasn't necessary. And it's probably the same spot here, but at 8,100, if he finishes in the top 5, mm-hmm. the money that you're going to have left over in that lineup is going to allow you to build an optimal lineup. So if he has a top 5, top 10 day, you're toast.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm worried about because, when you feel – when Junior does this, it's either going to be he's out in 25, 30 laps or he's going to be a top 5 driver and – at this track, and it just scares me either way. But my gut tells me to fade him. Who do you want to send to the garage, man? This is your first time to talk trash on a driver, on a team, on this show anyway. Who do you want to send to the garage?
I guess just sending someone.
Without qualifying, it's kind of hard.
It is. I would just say, I guess Brad Keselowski. He's always terrible at this track. It doesn't make any sense to me why he's not good at this race course. He's great at Watkins Glen. He's good basically everywhere. Mm-hmm. Here we are out in Sonoma, and it just seems like he doesn't even care. You look at his finishes, he's not even improving. It's just like another week for him. And he's got a teammate who's really good at this track, Logano. So why don't you talk to Joey Logano and figure out, hey, what am I doing wrong? How can I learn here? But apparently he's not doing it. So Brad Keselowski, he also got a huge price decrease. We don't ever see him below 9,000. He's below 9,000 this week. That should tell you something about BK.
All right, man. I think something we kind of need to talk about a little bit is the rookie situation. There's a lot of drivers that don't have a lot of track experience out this week. You already mentioned one of them, an Alon Day. Are there any others that you're interested in looking at of these guys that don't normally race on this circuit? Or do you think that for most part you want to fade them and not play the youngins and the newbies this week? Because, we saw Eric Jones wreck twice in practice already. So
yeah, I want to fade them if I can. The problem is they're not going to run well in qualifying either, so they're really going to make it tough on you. If they're starting in the 20s, even Daniel Suarez, who I think probably is halfway decent, but then again, he's never raced Sonoma ever before. It's on the Xfinity Series. Clearly, Eric Jones has never been out here, and he's grown up pretty much, looks like racing ovals. Same thing with Chase Elliott, although he has a handful of Xfinity races under his belt. But he's never raced at Sonoma until last year. He ran the K&N Series. Blaney, the same thing. He's running in the K&N race today. When you ask him about how he's running, he's like, it's fun. We're middle of the pack. They're not good. It takes a while. And you look at the development of a lot of these drivers. Either they were really good road courses from the very beginning, or it took them years and years and years. And you even got guys like Kevin Harvick, who he's going to run in the K&N race just to get a little bit more experience, it's freaking Kevin Harvick.
It's Harvick.
Saying, I need a little bit more work. So how is a rookie going to pull this off? I would much rather take someone like the younger driver. I don't know if Danica's younger, but she's been in this cup about 5 years. People around that 4 or 5 years in Austin Dillon have enough experience. You might go overlooked or undervalued.
You're not worried about Danica's ability to somehow magnetize herself to any wreck on the track that's not her fault. Like I've never seen anybody have as bad luck as Danica.
You know what? They're going into last week. She hadn't wrecked hardly at all last year. I mean, she was pretty much running 20s right there, lead lap, has a chance at the end, and then Bubba Wallace is like, you know what, all or nothing, and just jams through the field and wrecks Danica, sure enough. But other than that, she's been safe, and she's been at the road courses. You look at her finishes, they're amazing, but 19th, 24th, 18th, 29th in her first ever road course race, and then Watkins Glen 21-17, 21-20. She's just hanging around and just needs some breaks at the end. It depends on where she qualifies, though, because I believe if I look at those, she probably qualified better than those finishes. So,
yeah. I think the Danica rule's in play this week, guys. If she qualifies 25th or worse, I would even say 20th or worse this week, just because it's a road course. I think you can bump it 5 spots, but I wouldn't play her if she qualifies over 20th.
Well, there's also not a lot of wrecks. You know how many wrecks there were last year at Sonoma?
There were 2, right? The 0?
0. Well, there was Clinton Boyer had an electrical issue, and then Michael McDowell parked his car. I can't remember if he overshot a turn or if he just ran out of gas. And then the other was debris cautions.
Yeah.
So you're not running side by side. Again, I'm watching this race over here, and it's just like a snake of cars. You're not really into traffic. On a restart, you can get into some craziness.
Now, are you worried that the segments are going to throw off this road course race and the single fileness that we're used to here?
That's going to create more cautions, too. Or maybe we'll just see less debris cautions because we'll have the segments. Yeah, it could cause a problem in that last segment because the restart really going up the hill, people do stupid stuff. So I mean, we see it a lot. Like guys up front run each other off road because if you can get into first place, and I saw that it was AJ Allmendinger did that to Carl Edwards to take the lead because once you get out front, no one's going to pass you. It's just not going to happen. So
unless you're Denny Hamlin and overshoot the last time. Which cost me like $10,000 last year, by the way. I went from winning to so much money to, oh, here's your money back.
If you look at all the trends at these road courses, if your guy has top 10 or top 5 practice speed, that pretty much correlates with a top 10 finish. And the only time that hasn't happened was last year with Tony Stewart, who practiced in the 20s. And, I mean, they just rigged that race for him. He skipped the pit, and then he was going to have to pit and fall back in the field. And
Phantom caution.
Debris caution. Perfect timing. And then at the end, he gets passed. Oh, too bad for Tony. And then like 3 seconds later, like, no, Tony's back in the lead.
Well,
I don't know how NASCAR got into the headset of Denny Hamlin so fast. Like, you better let Tony by. You let him by right now.
Well, legit question. Is NASCAR going to try to rig it again this week for
who would
Junior?
they rig it for? If you're going to pick
for
the
Junior.
guy.
For Junior. Like, that's what I would worry about. I'd worry that they would try to rig it for Junior.
It wouldn't take that hard. He's got a fast enough car. The only thing is that it's a shifting issue.
Right.
Prevent that from happening. What's NASCAR going to do? Like, make his engine unbreakable? Give it an automatic? That's not going to work.
All right, man. Pearce, I know you're new to the show. Usually we put together a lineup, not to give people a lineup, but to show the proper process of putting together a lineup. You down to do that this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man.
The 50,000 payout's been pretty much customary now. You think we'll see a boost for Daytona, like we've seen in the past? Maybe 100 this week?
I think for Daytona it may be at least 75, maybe 100. I don't think they're having problems filling. I think they reach a point though with like a decision calculus that says that at a certain number of entries there's too many duplicate lineups just out of the math that like you can only work. And I don't know that they're going to go much higher than this field size, which is what kind of upsets me because I really liked the $27 when it was at the 4,000 to 5,000 range, and we were getting 10 to 15K prizes and sometimes 25K prizes in that $27 tournament. I'm really sad that they kind of gutted that tournament on us. All right, man. Where do you want to start this week for a lineup? I'll let you have the honors.
We'll start with your guy. Let's put Martin Truex Jr. in there.
All right.
It's expensive. But
yeah,
we'll see how it goes. If salary gets tight, then we could probably look for another guy. I don't even care about fast laps or laps led this week. I'm just trying to get guys who. I mean, obviously, you're probably going to need the one guy who does lead the most. But in the end of the day, we're only talking about like 8, 10, 12 points unless one guy runs away with it. And with the stages, I don't believe we're going to see one guy run away with it. We're going to see goofy pit strategy happen. I mean, you're on the lead lap, one lap towards caution, right?
Right.
Let's just play this out because we haven't really talked about this. The stage is getting ready to end, and you're in 5th place. Well, you can take your stupid bonus points, or if you go down pit road right now, you're going to be back on the lap. You're not going to go a lap down, and then the leaders will have to pit, and you're right up to the front.
Yep.
And so then we're going to see every stage the leaders are going to completely flip and flop. And if we've got cautions, you're going to see flipping and flopping. I can't imagine that one guy is going to score more than 15 fast lap led points. That being said, you don't really have to spend up on a guy like Martin Truex Jr., but we're spending up because we think he's going to win.
Of the people that have dominated this race, really it's only been Rowdy that had that 94 laps that he led a couple of years ago. Other than that, this race is usually chunked up a little bit, and you're right. It's just the cautions that throw off the lead lap and the leaders, and it gets kind of messy. And when that happens, the stages could make this really crazy, which I like that. I'm really glad you pointed that out. It may be that this week you don't need to try to find the dominator. You just need to find, you're trying to find the guys that are going to finish top 5. But in all
differential finishing position, I think.
Right.
Look, you're going to see there's going to be some average cars that play the pit road game because they know exactly when the caution is going to come up. And if you know exactly when the caution is going to come up, you can pit early. You're going to stay in the lead lap, and the leaders are going to have to pit under the yellow at the end of the stage. You're going to go right up to the front. And I mean, what do you do if you're leading? You can't just say, "Well, I'm going to go into the pits now." And
I think
so all the people like 10 to 20 are in a. You're just going to see a flip that we haven't seen. People have predicted we would see this at Michigan or Pocono. Never happened. It's going to happen this.
Yeah, it very well likely could happen. And no, I'm with you. I think this race is all about place differential and finishing position. And to be honest, place differential is even going to be lesser of a factor as much as finishing position at this race, just because, like you said, there's not going to be a ton of movement. There's going to be a few cars that are moving. There's not going to be a whole lot of passing going on here. And so it's important to figure out cars that you really think are going to finish the race. And I would try to get as close to top 10 finishes as you can with this lineup. I just think that's where it's going to be this week. All right, so we've got Truex as our anchor. Somebody that we didn't talk about that has great track history here and wasn't looking shabby during practices is Kurt Busch at 9,800. What are your thoughts on him this week?
Yeah, Kurt, I don't know if he's won here, but he's been right up near the front. 2015 he scored. Did he win that race? He finished second, but he scored the most fantasy points. Pretty good day. I like him, but still, it's pretty expensive. I mean, if I make him our number 2 pick, I think we got to go with your other guy, which would be Matt Kenseth.
Yeah.
You got to slide him in, right? Place differential is the thing. And look, he's going to be in a spot where if he wants to have a good day, he has to play the strategy game. He's not going to be able to pass his way through the field. So he already kind of knows his destiny. It's to manipulate the pits. And if he can play it right coming out of stage 2, if you got good position coming into stage 3, then you're pretty much going to – I think what we're going to see – I don't know when the stages are, but whoever wins – or at the end of stage 2, not who wins stage 2, but who plays the strategy game going into stage 2's end or whatever. You come out leading stage 3, that's it. You're not going to see any flipping and flopping right there. You're not going to need to pit again. And even if there is a debris caution, you're not going to pit. You just stay out there.
Yeah,
so,
I mean –
I feel like this race now has just had the last of it chunked off.
Yeah, I mean, they do only have, 50 laps to go 60 laps to go for the finish. I don't see a whole lot of craziness going on, and Kenseth is one of those cars that could easily take the inverse pit strategy and just all of a sudden jump you up 15, 20 spots by doing that, and that could be a huge payday for you in daily fantasy. All right, so we've got Truex, Kenseth. Without qualifying, man, where are we leaning now?
Well, let's take your other value guy, Buescher.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. We're going to take someone in the 6K range, and without qualifying, we got to pick based on something. And, for all the reasons that we said earlier, we roll with Buescher.
Right on, man. I like that, dude. You seem to be taking my picks and rolling us, getting us more value on the board.
If he qualifies 10th, I won't take him because.
Yeah, I'll just say this, guys. If he qualifies 10th, I'm going to go back in and edit this lineup. That's how much I don't like it. It's only $8.
But like we said, the pit strategy, he runs 10th and he's up in 10th. And then, we get the flip at the stages, and then Buescher just for no fault of his own, just has a mediocre day because of pit strategy.
Now we have 86.66 left per driver with 3 spots remaining. You know, a lot of people would automatically just go to Junior here. And
I knew you were going to say Junior. Well, either way, before we decide who, I think that we just really need to target who we feel like gives us the best chance of getting a top 10 finish.
I actually agree.
Junior's there, but there's a lot of risk involved with Junior getting a top 10.
I agree with that statement, which is why I would actually sacrifice a little salary at this point and either go up and grab Larson or Hamlin. And in all honesty, looking at where our salary is, I think we should probably grab both of those guys from where they can finish and then try to fill in another value play below it. What do you think?
Yeah, Larson, Hamlin, Boyer, Logano. I mean, these guys, Logano is underpriced. I don't understand this. Logano is just pretty much what more do you need to see? I would argue he's been the best road course racer in the last 2 years, and he's got a win during that time period, which is more than a lot of people. And he's at 9,000. So,
so you want to do?
I don't know.
Let's. You know what? Let's have some fun. Let's do Larson and Logano. That's going to stretch us a little. That leaves us 7,700 remaining. We can make that awesome Billy Johnson play. I mean, guys, if he qualifies low, like, it's great, but I think he's going to qualify too high to make
let's
the
take something stupid. Let's swap Busher out and let's put in Day in there.
Go with a super punt?
Yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but this is going to allow us to easily grab another top 10 driver. And we want to get as many guys in the top 10 when the race is all about finishing position and place differential. So,
and if you guys,
we just need safe top 10s,
right? And if you're willing to do the all-in day play with the Kenseth value, you can afford. Like, we can go back up and grab Hamlin and have money left over. Which, I mean, I don't know about you, dude. I kind of like that lineup: Truex, Kenseth, Alton Day, Larson, Logano, Hamlin. Like, it's risky with the all-in day play, but I mean,
if you want to go a little safer on, I don't know how much money we have, but Cole Witt, he's 26 in the second practice, and you look back at his past. I mean, last year at Sonoma he stunk, but last year he was in just a terrible car. Shouldn't even been out there. But you look at the years before that at front row, 22nd, 27th. He had 28th at Sonoma last year, 21st at Watkins, or 28th at Watkins Glen, 21st at Watkins. He's been okay. He's got a little bit more experience.
That team's definitely improving, and we have enough money to put him on. We have 300 remaining, so we can go all the way up to even Reagan. I actually prefer the Witt play to Reagan. My question to you, though, if we're going to do the swap out there and throw Reagan on, and throw Witt on, are you worried about the engine blow up that he had in practice too?
Cole Witt blew an engine?
Dude, all I know is there was all kinds of stuff on the track, and they had to put his car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, the fluid they spilled out.
Yeah, onto a hauler to get it off.
Because that was right when Eric Jones wrecked. They like simultaneously.
Right.
See, I thought I was watching with the volume off, and I thought I just blew a tire. But then they're like cleaning stuff up forever.
Yeah, there was a ton of liquid on the track. I don't know what he blew, but that's the only thing that worries me is when those teams like blow cars up.
Well, he's actually, I mean, this team, TriStar Motorsports, has been pretty competitive in the Xfinity Series for years, and they decided, hey, you know what, we're going to step it up and do a cup race. And they're not just there, they're trying to build and improve, and they've done that this year. But if you look at TriStar Motorsports in the road series, in the Xfinity series, like half of them are starting parks. So it worries me a little bit.
Right.
Like when they are showing up. But the JJ Yalley car, they try to compete in that. You're right. I don't know.
I'm with you. I wanted to play it, but I love their the new sponsor. That car looks awesome in the Arctic Coolers car. But like, man, I just worry when they blow engines like that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because their second engine is not going to just the backup. We saw this with Castle. So last week or 2 weeks? It was last week, wasn't it?
Last week when he started from the back, yeah.
Yeah, and his backup car is just not that good. I mean, he was fine, but these small teams, even like an incremental negative adjustment, is just too much for them to overcome.
Right. I mean, they're barely.
Like, I wish we could see one more practice, but this is it. We're going to see qualifying, and maybe we'll get an idea. If he goes out in qualifying and runs really well, but it's like 2 laps.
Yeah, you know what, dude? I say we just keep the all-in day, like, punt play in there. go with the lineup we have. So we went with Truex, Kenseth, Allende, Larson, Logano, Hamlin. I'm comfortable rolling that for the 50K lottery. Remember, guys, the purpose of showing that is to talk through a lineup with two guys that play all the time. Pearce, I want to thank you a lot for stepping in and filling in, man. This has been a pleasure to have you on the show. Man, great time, dude. Thank you so much. Let you say your goodbyes if you want to say goodbye to anybody.
Well, I just want to say thanks for having me, and just thinking about it, when you talked about this earlier with duplicate lineups, going with the punts down here, going with Cole Witz, going with Allen Day, they probably are going to be the best way to separate yourself. Obviously, we got to see qualifying, but one of these 6,000 guys is not going to qualify very well, and that means they're going to be widely owned. And then when you own a 6K guy, it's going to create like just similar builds. So maybe going with one of these punts and nailing the right guy here will differentiate yourself from the field and maybe give you a chance at winning the $50,000 all by yourself.
I hope so, man. It would be a nice payout. Dude, thanks again. Remember to keep your thoughts and prayers with A-Dub. And Liehr is just celebrating his little one's birthday, so he'll be back next week. Pearce, like I said, man, pleasure. Loved having you on. And if ever those guys can't show up, I'm going to be hitting you up again, man. That was a great show. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thanks, guys. Remember, like, share, comment. I don't know if Pearce will try to comment at all on the YouTube channel this week. He's a busy man. But I do know Liehr is going to try to comment, and A-Dub will possibly be commenting, and so will I. So let's keep that community going of everybody talking about racing. We're one of the only shows that has that kind of community going, and it's all because of you guys. So thanks again. Let's win some money this week, and have a great week, guys.